I like that. What did she say? What did she say? Oh no, she did. No, she did. Hush now, I'm trying to eavesdrop. 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 Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Mahogany Voices podcast. I'm your host, Tish, along with my co-host friends.
Cynthia,
Joanne.
Tracy, and Zachary.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. Just want to let you know that we didn't have a new episode last week. We had some difficulties going on with our systems, but we are back. Just to let you know, we're back. As you can see, it's 5 of us today. Stephanie, aka What's in Your Cup, she was feeling a little under the weather today, so it's just the 5 of us. She will be back next episode, okay? Yes. But we do want to thank you for tuning in to our last episode, which was Siblings. Is it a rivalry? So if you didn't get a chance to check that episode out, go head on over to your favorite podcast platform and check it out, or go to our YouTube page so you can see us while you're listening to us, okay? All right.
Share.
yeah.
So
Yes.
Click like and share.
Yes.
And I wonder if anyone answered your riddle on YouTube.
Oh, I don't know.
What did the mousetrap say to the face?
Yes. Yes. So this week's episode is mental health in 2021. Someone send me a therapist,
please.
So, but before we get into that, we're going to check in with the ladies. Hello, ladies.
Hey.
Hey!
How's everyone doing today? How was your weekend? Tell me all about it.
Weekend.
I laid down all weekend and I feel really bad. I did. I laid down all weekend. I felt really, really bad. Not bad as an illness, but bad because I felt like I neglected the family. But sometimes you just need that time to just lay down, and
absolutely.
That's what I did.
Good for you.
And I ain't mad about it.
That's right. You did say that was one of your New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
So hey, you right on track, girl.
Good job. Good job. But I don't think I did anything fun this weekend. I don't think so. No, nothing fun. Everything's closed. Did y'all know the movies was open?
No.
No.
I haven't been to a theater since COVID started.
We went by an AMC and it had maybe about 20 cars. That's about it.
Oh, wow.
So,
I am so devoted to Netflix and chill.
So devoted.
Yes.
And now they have the new movies that coming in the theaters. They have it. You can get it on demand. So I rather just stay in the house and do that. Yeah.
That is safer. So much safer.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't do much either this weekend. I kind of chilled. I hit some stores, as you all know, because I called y'all for some items.
Yeah.
But I hit a couple of stores and early shopping. And other than that, I think I really relaxed and chilled out.
Okay.
I relaxed in a different way. I got together with a few very close friends, and yes, I know who they've been with. And we danced for a couple of hours to some house music.
Really?
I have not danced like that in so
long. My goodness.
So relaxed. Oh my God, such a nice adult atmosphere.
Oh.
Yes, my knees was hurting, but it was so worth it. And I feel I actually felt rejuvenated, like,
yes.
Yes.
So that's what my smiles coming from.
Right.
Okay.
Some good old fashioned. And the bag of chips. It was that.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
what did I do this weekend? Nothing. I did go and a little bit of shopping, but that's about it. But the weekend before, we did have a little girlfriend outing.
Yeah.
it.
Yes, I know. A couple of us missed it, but we had a good time. We went to the Amish market and then we went, oh, I'm getting back into plants. So we went to get me some more plants. And
Right.
Zachary, girl, thank you because I didn't know what I was doing really.
You're welcome.
Now I know who got a green thumb. I'm gonna be calling all
Yes,
the time.
That's
it is
fine.
that.
Call me up.
Yes, and then we went to a couple other black-owned stores. I'm gonna shout one of them out in the uh voice of the
Community.
community later on, so
Mhm.
y'all can know about that. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
Right.
Yeah. So that's good. I'm glad y'all had a good weekend. As I said before, Stephanie is she's taking a sick day.
Right. Gotta have fun. But
But guess
that's right.
what? We still gonna get ready to move over to my favorite segment in the episode, which
Yes.
is
The Hump Day Stress Reliever.
yes.
Yes.
Yes. Well, hello, MVP listeners out there. This is that gift we always give you, that 1 minute escape. Let your mind go, let your body be free, and just breathe to the sound.
All right.
So you already know I'm continuing to do. Yes.
That's Tracy.
Yes. Put in
Now you can give your knees a rest, Tracy.
put in like thank you.
Nothing wrong with chair dancing sometimes.
I know somebody with some good chair dances. I like that, Tish.
Yes. Type of music you can drift away to.
Yes.
Get out. Whatever out. Put in
I'm ready to go out like crazy.
It was just about 4 of us, and I'm telling you. Put in put in
All right.
Yes.
Yes.
Woo,
right.
woo, 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 woo,
Yes.
You're welcome, MVP listeners. You're welcome.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Cynthia. That was great.
That's right. We are each other.
Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and move on over to let the voices speak for themselves. And we got a new co-host today. Yes. Joanne.
Yes,
PJ No
Joe.
Filter is in the house.
Yes,
And
Joe.
Hey,
say
hey,
Yes.
hi.
hey, hey. Hello, everyone. And happy Wednesday to each one of you all. We have such a great topic this week to talk about. It's an issue that a
Yes.
lot of people try to put on the back burner or act like it's an omen, but sometimes we really have to address the elephant in the room. And
Right.
that's why we want to talk about mental health. What is mental health? You know, we all have our definitions, but technically it's a state of well-being. That's all it is, in which an individual realizes her own abilities. You know, they take control of themselves. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
us. That's each one of us. We got to take control of ourselves, mind, body, soul, and spirit.
Right.
Do not internalize, do not let everything consume us. And when we do, get out of hand if we don't have an outlet. I was reading a book, and the author said in his book, you can't always control what goes on the outside, but you can always control what goes on inside of you. That's
True.
a personal
Yeah.
choice because everything that happens on the inside, it has to come out. So if we
Yeah.
operate from within, then it will come out. And if it's positive, will have a greater impact. But when it's negative and it's challenging, that's when we need some help. You know, things become a little too consuming. And so before we get started on this issue, you know, I had a few conversations with some friends of mine, talking about mental illness, talking about mental health, and just what it really means to them from a work perspective, from a home perspective, and a personal perspective. You know, everyone has their different views, but something that really stood out to me when we was discussing the topic, mental health, will somebody please send me a therapist? And just amongst us, we know that, you know, when we put that topic out there, Tracy was ready to just send us every therapist we needed. And so, you
Thank
know,
you.
it's well equipped. You know, we know that we have someone that can point us in the right direction. So the one thing that the one young lady talks to me about is like, you know, when mental illness affects some people, she works in a shelter. She said a lot of people mental illness come from the fact that they have experienced something and they didn't have an outlet to let it out.
Right.
And so it became something that they suppressed. And we talked about this earlier when we talked about emotions and we talked about forgiving. I think that was like our early episodes. And so I just want to know what's your perspective on it, Tracy, the hospital nurse, because we know that you all encounter a lot of different people coming in the hospital, not all mental illness, but there are some triggers in some things that you can diagnose that has some effects on mental health.
Let's see. Okay, the first thing I would say, a lot of people that come to the hospital, mental health is usually misdiagnosed. I think that people work really, really hard at trying to figure out what's going on, and it usually comes from, like you said, a lot of emotional things that have never been addressed. I think that people downplay mental health. In our community, it's always been a stigma. You know, people say you crazy or
Right.
mentally retarded. He's
Wow.
eccentric. We never really address those things. And you know how you guys know how I'm big on generational curses. Those things weren't addressed, so they were like passed on and passed down. People come to the hospital with all kinds of mental illnesses, depression, schizophrenia, ADHD.
Right.
Well, not ADHD, it's not a mental health disorder, but just things that are misdiagnosed, and they come in with all these physical ailments that contribute to the mental health or vice versa. I just think that we need to do a lot more work in educating our community, the Black community, on mental health, that there's no stigma behind getting help. I've seen a therapist and I will seek out another therapist if I think that it is necessary. I feel like I got the help that I needed. That's why as soon as we had this episode coming, I didn't know it was a part of the episode, but I immediately like just sent out numbers and resources to
Yes.
anybody because
You
I'm
are
a
already
believer
armed.
and getting the
Yeah.
help that you
Yes.
need so that you can progress. If you don't get the help that you need, you won't progress, you won't grow, and you can't be a blessing to other people.
That's
So,
true.
that's my thing.
Excellent. And I thank you for sharing. And that's very important to know that, you know, you have that outlet and that, you know, we have to seek it. Another thing that came up in that discussion that I had with some friends of mine was that some people encountered some type of trauma. Something happened in their past, something happened in their childhood. And so, therefore, I don't want to really categorize it as a mental illness because sometimes, like you said, there's a lot of misdiagnosis.
Right.
But because they had some type of traumatizing event in their past, it doesn't take much for it to be triggered. It doesn't take for them to fall back into a shell saying something has happened to me because it was never really addressed. They never really talked about it, or it's just an event that continues to surface. So I want to stick a pin in that because it's traumatizing. And I want to go right to Tish and talk about it because we've had conversations about things that happen coming up in your past with your brother and being that protector, which could have been very traumatizing. So I just want to hear your perspective from that aspect of experiencing some type of trauma that can be leading to mental illness in your present.
Absolutely. First, I would say that I view mental illness and then mental issues as something different. So for mental illness, typically it's some type of imbalance,
Mm-hmm.
chemical
Mm-hmm.
imbalance. And when I say mental issues, that's where I feel like when you have trauma and there's no outlet or there's no coping skills to help you
Mm.
through trauma, that's to me more on mental issues.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what you're referring to, that sometimes, and I just realized this here in back then 2020, that there are some things that can happen to you, and at the time that it's happening, you don't even realize that it's trauma.
Mm-hmm.
um it's just something that happened, and it could, in the situation that I'm speaking of, is that it was something that happened on a regular basis to and so it was almost as if it was normal.
Right.
So I didn't realize it until and last year in 2020, that actually I had experienced trauma during this instance. And what I'm speaking about is, and I didn't realize it until the whole Black Lives Matter, when George Floyd was killed, and watching that video and then seeing the uprising of everyone reacting to it. And
Mm.
I'm not typically the type of person that, um, I don't think I am. I don't feel like I get depressed or anything like that. But after watching that, I noticed that I didn't want to get out of bed. Um,
Wow.
and it was like 2 to 3 days where I was just feeling like I did not want to move, because all I could see in my mind was that video. Something
Mm.
about that video that was making me feel like that.
Right.
And what I realized is that it took me back to when I was a child in junior high school. That's what it was called when we was in school.
Right.
And every May the 1st, we used to get chased by the people that lived in the neighborhood of the school that we went to. So it was adults that were chasing us, grown men, and they were Caucasian. They did not want the Black kids in that neighborhood going to school. And it was one particular incident where we were running, and I had my younger brother with me, and they came out of this alleyway. They had thrown bottles, they had bats, they had sticks. And for some reason, I never forgot this face that was imprinted in me.
Wow.
And I realized that that face reminded me of back then that I saw the officer that was on George Floyd. His
Wow.
face looked exactly like the
Wow.
Wow.
man, one of the men that came running out of the alley throwing stuff at us.
Wow.
Wow.
So I realized at that point that actually I was traumatized. I didn't know it. I
Right.
just, it was so normal. It felt normal because everybody that I knew that went to that school went through it every year, you know.
Mm.
So it's just really, you know, it's
What,
scary really, because
what was that
Like
date
you
about?
suppress,
Why was it
sound
May
like
the
you
I
1st?
don't
suppress that trauma.
I don't even know. Well, I didn't even know it was trauma. It was
Trauma.
normal
Yeah.
to us. It happened
Right.
every year for as long as I've known. My older brother went there. It happened when he was there. Then when we got there, it was happening. So every May the 1st,
What
you
was
know,
Mayday.
significant about that day, though?
It was called Mayday.
Mayday.
May
yeah,
Day.
Remember?
Okay.
Yeah. I
yeah,
Hmm.
remember that, but it wasn't as traumatizing as your issue. It's
Right.
just,
yeah.
it
Well,
was
actually,
something
they
that was
called it
supposed to
nigga day. That's
happen.
what they called it. Every
Wow.
1st. Yeah.
Wow. That's
So,
serious.
and like I said, it wasn't the kids at the school. These were
Right.
grown men
In the neighborhood.
attacking us, and I think I'm when it comes to someone that's racist, I have a heightened sensitivity of
Mm-hmm.
feeling it. and I think it came from those experiences,
Experiences.
you know.
Mhm.
But I didn't realize that it was trauma. Like that's the point that I'm trying to make, that I just didn't realize
Right.
that it was trauma.
Right.
Even with talking with my family, where like my mother telling us to be careful or
Right.
whatever, because it's May the 1st.
Right.
She was, definitely an alpha female, where I'm not going to let nobody run my kids from getting their education. We
Absolutely.
went to school, but it was just, I mean, watching that video, I realized, and I needed to release that. I cried. I did.
Mhm.
Um, because I don't think I ever cried about it before.
Right. Because as African Americans, we are so busy living through our experiences,
Girl, yeah.
Right.
have so little time to really acknowledge them and process them. And
Right.
that's
Yeah.
what happened with you. And then when it finally happens, look how old you were.
I know.
Right.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's why this makes this topic such a good topic, because it can go to different streams, whether it's mental health, mental illness, or whether it's to the point where it's become so outrageous that it's a person that needs to speak to somebody because they're in a shell, and
Right.
you have that fear of that. And as we listen to Tish talk, she's grown and realized now, that was a traumatizing event, but we just are so very grateful that it wasn't so traumatizing that it left her with a fear as an adult. You understand what I'm
Exactly.
saying? And that's the distinct that she made about the difference between mental health and mental illness. When you come uprooted in a family that cares and tells you to be careful and discusses it with you, then that has such an impact on your mental health alone, because you have that outlet, as opposed to you coming home and you scared and you on
Right.
your own. There's a lot of kids, adults too, that are afraid to voice their opinion about the things that are happening to them.
True.
And they experience it every day in the past and even now in our present. And if we can be honest, anything that has altered our thoughts in any way can be very traumatizing to us.
Absolutely.
It can have an effect on our mental health to the point that we suppress it, or we put ourselves in some type of dark shell, or we just shut ourselves down from people because we have consumed it, we have internalized it, and we had not an outlet to go to. Which
Right.
brings me to Cynthia, because Cynthia, you work with young children, and young children carry so much, and we never know what their living conditions are at home. We don't know, their upbringing, and some kids come to school just to have that freedom of being a kid. And so I'm
Mhm.
quite sure you have been able to encounter both types in the school with young kids, whether it was mental illness and mental health. So we love to hear what you have to say about the issue.
Um, when you were talking, the only thing that was on my mind were the children, because I remember growing up where they didn't label it as mental illness. When people started talking about mental, it was like, we're gonna call the white jackets to come and get you. So they never really addressed it as this could be a serious illness. But in thinking about children, I never really thought that children were suffering from mental illness or anything like that until just going and looking at certain records and seeing that when I heard PTSD for the first time,
Mm.
it was labeled for a child. I'm like, children don't have PTSD. But when
Wow.
someone went further and explained the trauma that the child went through, I felt like I was going through the trauma myself,
Mm.
and it hurt to know that children, go through the same things that adults go through, like you said, every single day,
Every day.
every single day. So I never thought about children having a mental illness or any kind of instability like that, because I didn't think about that. It never occurred to me, like when I was a child, everything, life was supposed to be fun. So I never thought about children having a mental illness. But in thinking of all the years that I've been teaching, how many children have suffered over and
Wow.
over and over, and not when I first started teaching, we didn't have all of these therapists and people that come and
Mhm.
see you and home visits and things like that. It was just, okay, you're going to live through this moment, it'll go away, you
Mhm.
know. So just trying to make sure that the classroom was a safe haven for all the children, not just the children that were suffering, just making sure that all the children had a safe haven, because you just don't know what they go
Mhm.
through outside of the school building,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And someone told me when I first started teaching, don't smile on the first day. And I'm like,
What?
how can you not? You know,
Wow.
don't let them hug you. What? So I never took heed to any of those words. I hug all the children. I did,
Right.
because it sometimes I do it for myself.
Mhm.
Sometimes
Wow.
I need that myself. And then sometimes I know, but the children don't know that I know what they're going through. So,
Right.
just knowing that they have somebody that's going to give them a kind word, a hug,
Exactly.
it might make them feel good and forget about what they have to go through once they leave me, but at least they get to forget about it.
Yes.
So the hugs and things, it doesn't make it go away, but hopefully it puts it on the back burner for them, so that they could just think about just school for a change, or think about just being a child for a change.
Exactly.
Because you have so many children who have to play that adult role once they go home. They
Right.
have to
Mhm.
cook for themselves. They have to babysit. They have to clean the
Yep.
house. I mean, the house. So just knowing that schools, I pray that schools are a safe haven for children to escape that world that they have to, go through once they leave me. So
Right.
yeah,
Wow.
it's
Those
just an
hugs
eye
do
opener
mean a
knowing.
lot, because those hugs
Yeah.
also, because I did mentoring with girls, and just those hugs teach them what a good hug is supposed to
Right.
feel like.
Right. And a soft
Yes.
hug.
He
Yeah.
has something that you can teach. So please don't discount those hugs. I mean, hugs for me in school were powerful as well. But it teaches those young people what a good hug is, and that's what good mental health is.
Right.
So please keep. I mean, I don't care what the school says. Keep
Yeah,
it.
I remember Dr. Tama Bryant. She did a symposium, and she said that she was talking about some young girls, some students, and talking about mental illness. And the young girl was so frigid. She said when she went to give her a hug, and she said she still hugged her. We know hugs are so important. It's like the connection to let you know you're in a safe place. And
Hmm.
when the young girl talked afterwards, what she said to her, and I'll never forget it. Dr. Tamer said the young girl said she never had anyone hug her, not wanting something from her.
Wow.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
that's major. That's something that you
Right.
carry, because
Yeah.
if you're just giving a hug out of complete compassion,
Right.
that you care for a person and you're concerned about their well-being, and not trying to pimp something from them, or trying to use
Exactly.
them as your puppet to do something from you. So yes, I agree that those hugs are important, and kids need to learn it. I mean,
Hmm.
because they're not learning it from home, a lot of them. And
Right.
my other question to you, Cynthia, about um, is there therapists in the school?
Schools are really, really equipped now. I mean, different types of therapists, social workers, but every school in Baltimore City now has something called SEL, social emotional learning, where you have a moment where you can unpack what's
Wow.
going on with you. Every class gets a chance to be with the SEL coach, and and being with outside of me, so I can't sit in the session while the kids are there, because I could be the one that's the
Right.
problem.
Triggering her.
Prayer,
Hmm.
prayerfully not, but the kids get to code to that person, and then in talking to this social emotional coach, um, that coach is trained to pick up on things, what
Right.
the kids say, how they respond to different questions, and
Alert signals.
they can also see a child that's withdrawn.
Yes.
So yes, every school in Baltimore City is supposed to be equipped with an SEL coach. We've never had a thing where we just have 15 minutes to just talk to the kids. How was your morning? How was last night? Things like that, just to open up some things
Right.
inside of the children that could be suppressed, or whatever they want to talk about. So yeah, the schools are packed with different kinds of avenues for the children to use at their discretion if they need it. So, and even if we see something, we can
Hmm.
recommend them to that person. So that, yes, we do have those type of people in our school.
Awesome. So, Zaf, we know that wellness is important and we should always put our health first. Key priority to life.
Yeah.
And so, in your experience with family as well as even your friends with us, because you seem to be our mediator a lot when some of us go through some things. So, can you talk to us about how you pick up on how coping with the normal stresses of life and working productively in today's society is?
I think today we just have to be so in tune with one another, and we
Mm,
have to listen, because one thing you ladies are teaching me how to listen to what people are saying and when they're saying it and how they're saying it. And that way we can offer assistance, because if we're not listening or engaging in some type of communication, then we're overlooking it. And then that's when the problems occur. That's when school shootings occur. That's when workplace violence occurs. But people
mm.
don't hear or listen to their coworkers to see that they're in some type of distress. Some people are good with masking it. Other times, I think somebody can notice that there is some trauma going on, that there's something different about somebody that came into work that morning, and they
Yes.
can address it with that person. Say, "Hey, how you doing? Are you okay today? You need to take a break? Let's go outside and talk." Something, because then that's when the worst things happen. If we don't
Hmm.
address those mental issues in our workplaces, in our homes, especially our homes, we always tend to look over the people who we live with,
Oh,
because
yeah.
we just tend to not notice, or we tend to be busy and just not pay attention to the people we live with every day, talk to, and see every day, and not see that they're distressed. And like
Yeah.
Cynthia said, um, we have there's a lot of help for kids, but we got to know where to get the help from.
Right,
We
right.
got to
Hmm.
realize that the counselors in schools are not for mental health issues. They are for career concerns. The mental health
Yes.
issues go with the psychologists, the social workers in school. So we got to know where to get that help from.
And it's good that you brought that up. I talked to one of my girlfriends who is a certified therapist. And so my question that I had posed to her is therapy necessarily needed? Yes or no? Y'all know me. I'm just real plain and simple. Give me a
Right,
yes or no.
right,
I don't need a whole lot of detail. Let me see what your answer is. And she said, it actually depends. She was like, it depends on the person and what their goal is. Being that a person can experience something or they can go through something and they just want to be done with it or they want a resolve. And just talking with her, it made me reflect and it made me think about an incident, even with myself. How bad did I want to be healed from what I felt?
right,
So, was it something I could come and talk to you all about where you all can help me and aid me and give me, some type of pointers and things of that nature? I could sit, I could pray about it consistently. Or what do I do? And I made the decision. It wasn't the first time, and I went to see a therapist and I sat and I talked to the therapist, which gives you an outlet to be so open and free
right,
without any judgment. And just to speak to them and tell them everything that was on my mind and knowing that your words mean something and it plays a major part into your healing process. And
exactly.
as opposed to mentally, I could have talked to uh, all of you all and any other groups that I know, and you all could give me advice, which would have just been just that advice.
Right,
And what would that advice been to me if you all have experienced the same thing and you never saw any type of help? And
exactly.
so all of us would be a group of bruised, broke down, mentally disturbed females
Right.
who probably would go off. What's the movie that Tyler Perry had? What is it? Diary of a Mad Black
Oh
Woman.
Right.
yeah.
So we all could have been in the cast of that movie because we never sought the proper help that we actually needed.
Need it.
And so I really enjoyed having a conversation with her when she said that, because she said you have to be able to make the decision whether you want help
Mhm.
with no pressure.
Right.
With no pressure. Let it be something that you want for yourself. And I believe that for any and everybody that may be going through something, mental illness. Mental illness is a complete state, and I believe it's a choice. It's a choice that you make. When it goes on for so long and you don't get any help behind it, it turns into something worse off than what it started to
That's
be.
right.
But
That's
if you are afforded the opportunity to talk about it, to face your fears, to face the pain and the hurt, then you can bring some type of resolve to it.
to it.
And it's real. We know it to be a silent
Very
killer
real.
because it's depression.
I
Yeah.
think that a lot of times, I mean, I'm definitely a fan of therapy if it's definitely needed. One, if you do choose to go that route, you have to be willing to be honest.
Right.
Hmm.
Transparent.
Because a
Gotta
lot
be.
of times people go to therapy and they are not completely honest.
Right.
Right.
It's just like going to a doctor and you're feeling some kind
Exactly.
of pain and you're not going to tell your doctor that they
Right.
cannot resolve your issue.
Right.
And then later on, if it comes out that you have some serious disease, you want to say the doctor didn't diagnose you, but you never
Never
told
told the
the doctor
truth.
that you were
Right.
having issues. So I
Yes.
think a lot of times outside of that, when people come to their friends for help, they are not ready to be honest with each, and be vulnerable
Vulnerable.
and
Right.
really
I agree.
expose themselves.
Right.
You
I
know,
agree.
we can say, we friends, but a lot of people they don't know how to just be vulnerable with the people who they call their friends,
Right.
Exactly.
But then on the other side of that, you have those people who are in complete denial. So
Yes.
when we go to your friend or family member or whoever, look, you need some help. It's difficult for people to sometimes first go to that person and say, I think you really need some help. And then that person that's in denial, for them to say, I don't need any help. How do you get them to the place of realization to say, listen, I noticed this and I noticed that, and I really believe that there's a place where you could resolve whatever this issue is, because you still have millions of people out there who think of uh, um, a therapist or something as someone who only fixes someone that's crazy.
Right.
So,
Of course.
even in our families, we have people who want to fix them, or we want them to get fixed, or we want to put it out there so that they can get the help that they need, but they don't realize that they really do need the help. So, how do you get to that person without becoming their sole enemy to get them to realize that there is something there?
It's about opening up a conversation. If you see me bleeding, you don't just let me walk around bleeding. You say, "Hey, Zeph, it looks like you bleeding. Do you need some help?" Or,
Hmm.
or here's a band-aid. Or what can I do to help you with that bleeding? Do you need me to get a washcloth? Do you need me to help you wipe it off? So it's about
Right.
conversation without being accusatory, about being negative, about not being like, "Oh, you crazy." We need to stop saying
Right.
crazy. So it's
Yeah.
just, without pointing fingers, to making that person is lesser, because we all have concerns that we
Mhm.
need to be addressed mentally. So it's all about opening up the conversation, how you approach the person, and wanting to help and not wanting to be like, "Oh, you bleeding? What's wrong with you?" Or
I
what's going
think so. I agree with you that we definitely need to have the conversation and sometimes ask more than once, because I think our initial response would say,
right.
"Hey, you okay?" You like, "I'm fine." That's what we start. "I'm fine. I'm good. This is what I'm doing. What I
Yeah.
have to do. We do what we have to do to, or do what we got to
That's
do
that's
until we
that
can do what we
shield you
can do."
put up.
Yeah, you can
Absolutely.
ask me 10 times, and I'm probably, "Oh no, I got it. Oh no, maybe on 11." I'm going to say, "You know what? This is just too much. I need some help."
Help.
Right.
And
Right.
just
Breaking
listen.
It's about breaking down that wall.
Right. Sometimes
Hmm.
Exactly.
just I need you to listen. I don't need you to answer, which I had to learn to be a better listener and
Right.
keeping my mouth closed and not try to solve the problem maybe that first go round with them, but just allowing them, like you said, to bleed, to vent, to listen. And
Right.
sometimes before
Exactly.
you start saying what's going on, you get your own answers.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
then maybe you'll come back to me and say, you know what, you were right when you asked me about that. That's how I respond. You could ask me 1,000 times, I'm gonna say no, because that's how I
Right.
was always. Oh no, I'm good, I'm doing what I gotta do. I'm a woman, I'm a black
That's how
woman, I
we
gotta
were
do what I gotta
raised.
do.
Yeah.
That's another one
And
of our experiences.
but I've learned a little bit more recently. You gotta ask sometimes more than once.
Exactly.
But it's not how you say it. It's not what you say, but it's always
Right.
how you say it. Like you
That's
said,
right.
not accusatory, not judgmental. I'm not trying to
Right.
solve your problems. Would you like to
Right.
vent? And I'm just going to sit here, but I am going
Exactly.
to actively
Ex-
listen.
Exactly.
And
Tish said something that was very important too. Also about the in making the decision on whether you need a therapist or if you're suffering from something. We have to get out of that position where we're trying to push people. We have to let them
Right.
choose what it is that they need help in.
Right.
I can listen to you talk, like Tracy was saying, I can listen to you talk, but if I just want to hear one thing, we never find out what you really need help in. But
Right.
when a person is open and honest and begin to speak, then that allows you to know what avenue they need to go in. So you know exactly what type of specialty help that they may need, or if they just really need it to vent, that they really need to talk and get it out of them. Which I still would say a person need to speak to a therapist. Y'all know I'm all about therapy. Go to
I'm
therapy.
about therapy. And then
That's
sometimes
great.
also just giving that person the permission to vent, that
Right.
permission
Right.
to say no, thank you. Just giving people
Hmm.
the getting permission. We've always felt like we needed somebody to tell us that it's okay to relax, okay to say no, okay to say
Right.
boundaries, okay to take care of yourself. I mean, all those things.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You girls seem to me lately with us starting this podcast, you hear things that I don't hear. I might be able to be the mediator, but you girls hear some things, and I have to go back and run it back and be like, yeah, I did hear that. Yeah, that did sound a little suspicious. So I don't know, Joanne, especially you hear a lot.
I have a very heightened discernment. I listen and I hear. And I think that's the difference. A lot of people just do one or the other.
Hmm.
I've learned to do both. And that takes time to really be still and be willing to want to help a person. I'm not a people person where I let people push me around. I'm a people person where I want everyone to win.
Right.
And so I don't believe that anyone is suffering from something that they cannot be healed from, especially mental illness. I used to tell people all the time, I will talk to the man or the woman that's in the gutter, feeling as though life has nothing else to offer them. And by the end of our conversation, they getting up with me and we're going to find some type of help. Because if you give up on them, then you're giving up on yourself. Because I
Right.
don't think that people haphazardly cross your path.
Right.
It's something in them or something in you that you have to deposit. And I believe all of us have something to deposit golden nuggets into people that they may blossom and evolve, whether they need to see a therapist or not. And I'll be the first to tell you, let's talk to somebody.
Right. I will
um,
I will say this because I don't want people to think that the only reason that you go to a therapist is when you have major issues.
Right.
right.
There are, I mean, something as simple as communication issues
Right.
Hmm.
that a therapist could help you out with. Or I remember when my son used to play little league football and everything. And one of the things that I never agreed with, and you kind of saw the effects of it later on as the kids got older, is that when they had started doing this, I guess in their generation, because they didn't do that in our generation.
Everybody.
Everybody wins.
Yeah.
It's like they
Hmm.
I felt like they were setting the kids up for failure, because once they became a little older
Adults.
or
Hmm.
adults and experienced that first letdown, they
Yes,
had
ma'am.
no clue
How
how
to
to
deal with that.
manage through
That's
that.
right.
You
That's right.
know, and I have run into a lot of people that
You're
I
right.
feel like could use therapy because the coping skills
Skills
are
are
lost.
none.
They have
None.
none. you
Nah.
know. So even though that's don't seem so major,
It
Mm-hmm.
is.
and that could you need to go to the therapist because I mean look at the Unabomber, you know,
Right.
probably didn't know how to cope with life. And the thing about is life, it happens to everyone.
Everybody.
Everybody.
Yes,
Everyone
ma'am.
has ups and downs.
Yep.
Nobody is exempt from that.
Nobody.
But if you're teaching children
Right.
that everyone wins,
Wins.
you're
Hmm.
setting them
Oh
up
man.
for
Failure.
failure. And
Heartache,
thinking about some of the
depression.
kids that have shot up the schools,
That's
like
right. It's
it's
Especially they have not been taught, or nor do they have any kind of foundation, any family foundation, a religious foundation. When they go to fall, they don't know what to grasp onto,
Mm-hmm.
oh,
exactly.
who to
absolutely
hold on. They're just falling, 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 just
right.
grasping at anything because, like you said, they have no coping skills. They don't. They think everybody wins. That's not true.
Yes, it's
That is
not.
not true. And I, like you, I would suggest a therapist before things get bad. I mean, even if
Yes,
you're
Mm-hmm.
angry at a coworker, you want to pull out a can of whip ass, you better go see this therapist.
That's
right.
Even
right.
at your
Right.
job.
Absolutely,
I mean, it's just
absolutely,
little small things. Just go and talk to somebody that's
absolutely.
not maybe in your family, because sometimes people on the outside, they can look in and see some things that you or your family cannot see.
That's true.
So
Absolutely.
talking to auntie is great, but sometimes you might need to talk to somebody completely outside of your
Different.
family.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And
And
sometimes your best
it's
friend has your
safer.
best interest, but your best friend should know sometimes when, like, hands off, you can't
Right.
help me
Absolutely.
with this.
Absolutely.
Won't you talk to somebody else and then bring me in later?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Because, like I said, even those people are friends sometimes, they don't know how to be completely
Yes.
vulnerable and
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
honest and
Open.
just so revealing to their friends,
Right.
and they can do it with someone who don't know them.
Right.
Right.
They probably won't see them in any other setting but that office,
Right.
Or
So
I can
it's
say the ones of us who are always the ones that everybody goes to. You know how they say that strongest person.
all right.
Everybody goes to that person. That
Yeah,
being
and
that person, is very hard to be vulnerable to all the people that come to
To
you for
other
help.
people.
Right.
Who do they
Who
go
do they
to?
go
Who
to?
do they
and
go
Yeah.
even
to?
still, even if it is a good friend, you know, you don't you get to a point where you don't want people to judge you, and that's what
Right.
That's
shuts
it.
other people off. Because if I tell her this
I don't
part,
care.
you know they might judge me, so it's like things that you never see before in a person. It's like, that wasn't how you were before. And then that'll just they won't talk to you at all. So now you're already judging me because you already said I didn't change without saying I have changed.
Right.
So
Right.
Right.
some people don't go to their friends because they don't want them to see what they have evolved into, because then they
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
start judging the other you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's because we want to save our generation. We want to save our friends from losing and us losing. We don't like to lose people, but you're not losing. Like you said, you
Right.
just evolve to a different place. And then once we leave some people behind, they're not always happy that you're, moving forward.
Right.
They want you to stay where they are so that everybody can stay in a nice, comfortable mess. And
Mm.
that's when we also have to learn
Right,
that, we
exactly.
have to
That is so
separate
Right.
yourself
true. That
out,
is so
open up your
true.
circle, you know, self
Mm-hmm.
kindly, new mental health, better mental health.
Yeah.
Exactly. And some people can't handle it. I mean, you can have
That's
a
true.
group of friends that you've been with for years, and not everybody can handle what you're going through.
Right.
You
Right.
have to have a heightened discernment or a mindset to know that I can't take this to them. They
Right.
might self destruct before me, and I'm going
Right.
through, and they may not be strong enough. That's when you
Right.
really know people, like Tish was saying, being vulnerable. And if you know that person to that extent, you know really how much they can handle. They're not
Yeah.
going to be able to handle some of the stuff that you might be bringing to the table. And so that's
That's
why,
true.
you do broaden your horizon, and your circle has to be a little bit different sometimes, as opposed to um,
Absolutely.
going into solitude, like, I can't talk to nobody.
Right.
But it is said that the strongest person is the one that needs the most help sometimes, but we never know, because they're always the one that's helping someone else. And so,
Mm-hmm.
all we can do is pay attention, Look for those alert signs. Look for those signals that trigger. We quick to want to do a intervention on people.
Yes,
I
It
yes.
think
ain't-
one thing that I always say about people, especially friend groups and family or whatever. I just think that if people get the notion that it's nothing wrong with you being vulnerable, but you have to allow the other person to respond the way
yeah.
that they feel. It's okay. It's not, I don't, I know it's quick to say that it's somebody's judging you, but just
Mm,
just allow that person to respond to whatever the news is or whatever you're releasing, and then we could talk through that and move on. I mean, because if you have presented yourself a certain way for so many years and
Mhm.
then you reveal something that is kind of outside of what you showed this person or these people, then there may be a bit of a response to it,
right.
normal,
They might need to mourn that old person.
all right. So let them get through the shock
Yeah,
and then
definitely.
we can move on. But I don't think that people should go into it thinking that there won't be
A
some type of
response.
response
Right,
to
Hmm.
so
right. And you got to trust people in order to be
yeah,
vulnerable with them. I
yeah,
True.
mean, because then
So
we
very
all
true.
have those
And it's
situations.
so, I'm glad you said it. You got to trust people. And I think the first thing you have to do is trust yourself. You
Wow, that's
know,
true.
Absolutely.
trusting yourself first, and making sure that you're open to this feedback that you're going to
yeah.
get,
Right. You got
because
Hmm.
Open to the
not
feedback.
everybody can deal with feedback.
that's true.
I welcome feedback because it I want to
Me
get
too.
better.
Right,
And I know I'm not perfect, and I
right,
love to hear the things that I can fix, because I know I'm not ready yet.
right,
I'm
right,
not
right,
ready.
right,
So
right.
help me. I want somebody to tell me, listen,
What?
you know, I
Cynthia
want
is a real school teacher. I'm sorry because
yes.
she keeps saying, "I can fix it. I can fix
Yeah.
it."
No, I mean, and I know I can't fix everything, but
She's
I
certainly going to
may
give
be
it a try.
blind. I
Facts.
may be blind to some things that I
Oh,
need
fix
fixing.
yourself. Oh, right,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want feedback. I want somebody to say, listen, next time you click your teeth or what, the things that you don't notice that you're doing.
Right.
Sometimes you don't notice it. When I had a speech class, when I was at Morgan, they were like, we had a speech class and everybody had to give a speech. And I'm like, I don't know what to say. The feedback that I got, I was like, I didn't even notice. So I
Mm.
said the word so many times. I was like, oh, okay. So now when I do
Right.
talk, I'm kind of watching. Did I say how many times did I say it? So they said the best thing you could do is record yourself when
And
you're speaking,
listen.
and then
Oh
you
my
will know for
gosh.
yourself. But
Yes, girl.
I want like my friends, I want my friends to say, you said so. You said so. I wasn't gonna
So,
say so. I wasn't
I,
gonna say so.
I wasn't going to say
But
so.
you know, so it's good to get that feedback so you'll know what you can correct if you need to see somebody for what is going on, because it may be something that you can't control. So then you get somebody to help you gain that control. And I think
Right.
through feedback, we'll know where we are and who we are sometimes.
Right.
So I
Absolutely.
just say, just being open to, if you open yourself up, be willing to get that feedback in return, because nobody's
That's
perfect.
almost like having them gutted, Cynthia. Like I'm gonna gut you if I
Yes,
open you up.
yes, I'm gonna get you. You did it
And
again.
one other thing, real quick, I think that we have to just be careful of not enabling people to continue
Yeah.
with their bad behavior or behavior
Yeah.
that needs
Hmm.
some help. you know,
Yeah.
Hmm.
sometimes friends and family can do that to a person instead of being honest with them, having an honest conversation. Like Zeph
Right.
said,
Exactly.
we don't want to do
Codependent
that.
behavior. codependent behavior
Yes,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
enablers
Exactly.
to be,
You
you know,
know,
and that's when
Definitely.
you want to promote the good mental health because there
Right.
is no such thing
what they
as
call it,
good
tough
mental health.
love, tough love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I don't fight nobody now.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Please don't fight
A
nobody.
little bit.
we all know that mental health includes our emotions, our psychological, our social well-being. It affects how we think, how we feel, and how we act. At the end of the day, I could lose my family member and be grieving. I'm gonna need a therapist.
Yep.
Mhm.
My child may leave and I have separation anxiety. I may need a therapist. I may go through a divorce. I'm gonna need a therapist. I might be overeating. I am
Oh,
going to
she
need a
telling all my
therapist.
business. Hey, hey. Woo. Enough. Thank you.
I can't stay focused. I'm all over the place. I need to
I need
talk to
a
somebody. I need a
therapist.
therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Can't sleep at night. I need a therapist. I
Yes.
just feel this anxiety that just does not have a label. I need a therapist. There's something that happened and I never told a soul.
Oh, right.
I need a therapist. It's during
And
the darkest moments
Yep.
that we must focus and always see the light, whether that light is a therapist, whether that light is to be still, whether that light is just to know that it will get better one day,
Yep.
but I'll get through this. But in the end, I'm going to see a therapist,
Therapist.
girl.
Yes,
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 Me
yes,
too.
send me a
yes,
therapist.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes,
y'all know I got the number two some therapists, right?
yes.
I still
Yes.
got
I,
the first
We
one.
I, I do too. I think therapy is great, and I pray that our community
right.
starts to get better with that understanding that
Right.
Mm-hmm.
it's not a cloud. It doesn't mean that you're crazy.
Right.
Um, I would rather, especially if it's a chemical imbalance, I would
Definitely.
rather someone get the medication that they need so that they can live a more fulfilled life
Right.
Absolutely.
that are going through this battle within themselves, because they are afraid of the stigma of going
Hmm.
without help.
Right.
Cynthia,
Yeah.
sorry, Tish, one other thing I wanted to add is when you're going through and you're trying to be better, a better person, a better human being, you're trying to work towards good mental health, you should know that people who aren't in the best health mentally are going to see your good mental health as crazy.
Hmm.
So, bad behavior doesn't look as good behavior
Right.
and
Okay.
acknowledge it. So when you're trying to grow, you're trying to be healthy, you're trying to be the best person, best
Mhm.
version of yourself you can be,
Right.
everybody's not going to agree with it. They're going to think that you're acting funny.
Funny.
You're
Wow.
Yep.
trying to be something different. You're better than
Hmm.
us.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to hang around us anymore. Those are the
Wow.
things we have
Hmm.
to lay to the side, stay focused on what it is that you're trying to do and who you're trying to become a better yourself. And remember that unhealthy doesn't recognize healthy as
No,
good.
not at all.
Excellent.
Mm-mm.
Because we're
Great
so
point.
used to keeping a lot of junk in our lives.
Come
Yes.
Wow.
on here.
And then once you get to that place where you
Trying to
realize
shovel
you
that mess
have
out.
you
Yes.
start, releasing it, they don't know what that looked like.
No,
Right.
So, because
they
they
don't
still
recognize
holding
good
on to a
health.
whole bunch of mess.
Right.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
now they want to say, you're different. You're
Mm-hmm.
acting different. You're
Hmm.
changing
Yes.
on me, because
Yes.
they don't know what it looks like to
Yes.
be healthy mentally and
Right.
emotionally.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
Excellent
yeah.
point.
This is
Yeah.
good. This is good talk, ladies.
Yes,
This is
Joanne.
really
Yes,
good
it
talk.
is. Yes, it
And
Yes.
if,
is.
and if I had to leave y'all with one thing that you could give to someone else or even give to yourself, because I can't tell you what you're going through or what you're facing, but you can pick up on what other people are going through, what their situation is, or what their circumstance is. But I give you with this from me: your situation, your circumstance, your problem, it does not define who you are. It is your strength and it
Yes.
is your courage to recognize it that does. That's the definition of who you are.
Yes,
not
I
what's
love
going
it.
on.
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes, thank you,
Yeah,
Joanne.
Chills.
Yes,
Joe.
a good
Thanks for
conversation.
those.
And
Excellent
Thanks for those
conversation.
chills. Thanks for the
Yes.
chills.
yeah. And
As comments.
just to let everyone know that I definitely see a part two to this later on. Because I mean, it's
Um,
so many directions that we could go in with this, but it definitely will be a part two to this. Okay.
Yes.
we can call
Excellent.
it after the therapist couch.
What did your therapist say? Because mine said no.
What happened when I got off the couch?
Hey.
Yes. All right. So yes, thank you, Joanne, for that. You did a wonderful
Joe.
job.
Excellent
Oh,
Station.
conversation.
Um, so we're gonna move on over to the voice of the
voice of the
community.
community.
Yes.
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 Woo!
Yeah, so for our new listeners out there, this is the segment where we will talk about a small business that we experience and had services and shout them out, or we'll talk about any upcoming events that's happening in the area sometime this month or in the near future. Okay. So does anyone have any businesses they want to shout out?
I do. I do. I do.
Yes. Business.
I never have a business. I'm so happy. Okay. So this one is close to me. My baby brother called, and it's called Vito Beats, Beats. Um, and he does music. So he
Okay.
said, give him your top. He'll do old school to new school. He said, give him your favorite 10 to 20 songs, and he will make you up a mixtape. I don't know if it's called a tape now, but
CD.
whatever it is, he'll make it up. And he said he will do it for free. I said,
Wow.
What?
what? You don't want to do that for free. But, and I know where he's coming from, just to get his name out there. But he's very excited. He sees our vision. He said, I want to do music for y'all, podcast music. So it's Vito Beats. He can be reached at VITO342003 at gmail.com. I will put it in the chat box. But yes, call my baby brother.
Oh,
And
okay. Okay.
he heard our segment on siblings, and it just took him back. It
Yes.
took him back.
I'm
Awesome.
So it
sure.
That's excellent.
he wasn't a mousetrap, so
Right.
he was a part of a whole lot of other things. But yeah,
Okay.
Vito Beats.
That's
Yes.
Okay.
awesome. Well, since our topic was on mental health and I need a therapist, girl, I like to give a shout out to my good girlfriend who is a licensed self care coach, Mwuese Igyor, LMSW. She can be reached at www pressing enterprises. That's PRESSINGINNER. See how she pressed in?
Inner.
Prize,
Yes.
prize, PRSES.com. I'll make sure to put it in our chat so that if you all need to reach out to talk to a self care coach or wellness coach, she is so open to talk to you and direct you into the right path that you need.
All
Excellent.
right.
Right.
Excellent.
Yes.
I have a business, a young man who went to school with my daughter. I'm wearing his t-shirt. It's called Top Five. And Top Five is a unisex clothing line that values community, individuality, ownership, pride, and sustainable living for Black and Brown people. Through the use of fashion, we represent the experiences of Black and Brown people from urban communities as we use different things to promote our values and focus on the experiences of our communities in order to move towards change. Our battle
Hmm.
scars collection is an example of this, as the scars are individuals' personal experiences to promote addressing trauma and healing. It's called
Wow.
Okay.
Top Five, and Top Five can be reached on Instagram at top underscore the number five Clothing at EB_IKE. And they're young guys. And the shirt is
Oh,
really soft
okay.
and
I
it's
like
really nice and it
that.
comes in different colors.
Five.
Really nice,
Okay.
nice group of kids.
Okay.
Top five.
Wow.
Yes.
Of course,
Y'all know
I
some people.
Yeah.
Yes.
of a counselor, and I would like to give a shout out to Miss her name is Chanel Oglesby, and she urban trauma counseling, and that is at urban traumacounseling.com, or you can reach them at 410-844-0770. It's urban trauma counseling. It's counseling for us. And the young lady name is Chanel Oglesby. She is wonderful. I have nothing but wonderful things to say about her. Um, they deal with urban our kind of trauma, the traumas that we go through
Yes,
in
that's
the black
good.
community
Yes.
specifically for us. And there's nothing like us, and we need people that's going
Absolutely.
to address the things that affect us as our community. Again, her name is Chanel Oglesby. She can reach that at 410-844-0770, and it's urbantraumacounseling.com. Please take care of yourself.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
And last but not least, I do have a business to shout out. I'm going to shout out one of the businesses that we went to last weekend,
Yes.
which is Flourish.
Very
They are
nice.
located in downtown Baltimore. It's a lifestyle boutique. So they have crystals, they have incense, they have sage, they have books, they have jewelry, um,
Purses.
purses,
Yes,
bags,
now.
and then inside of that is another business that you can eat. They got
Food.
food back
Yeah.
there.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
Food and
Yes,
purses and food and purses.
Okay,
yes.
so
Incense, balance.
Yes.
So
Jewelry.
it is black owned, and yeah, go check it out. You can check them out on IG at Flourish Baltimore. That's FLOURISH Baltimore on
Mhm.
Instagram. And it's a nice store.
Right.
I love a downtown store. But yeah, so go check them out. Um, so yeah, so now we're going to move over to Cynthia and letting us know what our next episode topic is
all
going to
right, I
be.
gotta call our junior
Yes, call our Lady of Mahogany Junior.
Mahogany
Yes,
Junior. Sarah.
I cannot.
She hung around for so long. She just walked
We
off.
understand.
Pick, 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 pick,
All
pick.
right, she's picking the next topic.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
I'm always
Wait a
laughing
minute, they
at her.
can't hear you. All right, you gotta say it into the microphone. What? You know what's? Oh, National Crown.
Oh,
National, I'm sorry,
Ooh.
Natural Crown.
yes,
Yes.
Ooh. What?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yes.
Loving it.
So,
Ready.
ladies, get ready for the next
Ooh.
episode talking about our natural crowns. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Woo,
Mm.
I
Wear it
like this
well.
topic.
Maybe I'll just blow mine out.
Ooh,
Ooh,
Wear it
yes.
yeah.
well.
Do it.
Hey,
Do
I
it,
hey,
Lord.
wear it
do
in
it.
its true form.
I
Ooh.
Yes,
love it when y'all do that.
yes. That's gonna be.
I
She said, yes, we're gonna
Y'all do that.
talk about that
Oh,
because
Showed up, tried it.
I just listened to Jill Scott podcast, their latest episode, and it was
Woo.
a little something on there about that. I want y'all to go listen to it. It was really good.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, so all right. So
That sounds good.
natural crown next.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So
okay.
All right.
So do anybody have anything else for this episode? Looks like we're about to wrap
Coming
it up.
up.
I
Huh?
don't have anything.
I don't think
Nope,
anything.
nope.
I have anything coming
I
up.
think we set a mouthful.
All right. So we're about to close out our 5th episode.
Number 5. Number
That's the
5.
favor.
Yes,
Favor.
yes,
Yes.
Favor.
yes, yes,
Favor.
yes. We're gonna talk about hand games too.
Old school versus new school
Yes.
games.
Yeah.
Freely leap.
Yeah.
Freely leap.
So we're gonna wrap this episode up. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I want to thank the ladies for riding with me on this journey.
But of
And
course,
tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. And all your family too. To go and like, share, follow, and subscribe to all of Mahogany Voices social media and our YouTube channel so that you can be notified. Don't forget to hit that bell on YouTube
Right.
so that
Yes. Ding, 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 ding.
so when we put up a new episode that you'll get notification that it's there so you can check it out. Okay. All right, we appreciate all the love and support that we've gotten so far and the continued love and support as well. And as always, talk that talk and don't be afraid to use your voices for good, not evil. Continue to be the MVP in your own life. And until next time, peace. Yes, we did it again. We did it again. We did it again.
right.
Yes.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
All right.